In the Brake family's kitchen, the sweet smell of apple pie hung in the air. Olivia let out a tired sigh as she placed a thick stack of paperwork on the table. Across from her, her mother Helen flipped through a glossy fashion magazine. Her features were still striking, reminders of her past as a popular local beautician. "Olivia, what do you think of this red dress for Paris?" Helen asked suddenly, holding up the magazine. Olivia looked up and forced a weak smile. "It's lovely, Mom." She didn't have the energy to say more. The pile of insurance policy renewals in front of her had to be finished by tomorrow. Brake Insurance, her father's business, had a good reputation in town, but it was Olivia who did most of the work. She had dreamed of going to college after high school, but her father had asked her to stay and help the family. She'd said yes. That was 16 years ago. "Oh, Lindsay," Helen suddenly exclaimed, smiling at her phone. "My followers are up again. That last photo shoot really did well. She's got such an eye for style." Olivia smiled politely. Her younger sister, Lindsay, had been working in fashion in New York for just 3 years, but her flashy posts were already drawing attention online. She was the only one in the family who had gone to college. "Olivia, when will you be done with those documents?" her father Charles called from the living room. Around town, he was known as the trusted insurance man, but Olivia was the one who kept the business running. "By tomorrow morning," Olivia said softly. She hadn't been feeling well lately but was used to pushing through. She always had. She thought back to when Lindsay was 6 and came down with pneumonia. Their parents had been too busy, so Olivia had cared for her sister herself, staying up for nights on end even though she was still a child. The sound of the front door opening broke her thoughts. "Guess what?" Lindsay came bursting in, her face glowing with excitement. "I got the tickets to Paris Fashion Week, 3 of them, one for me, and one each for Mom and Dad." Helen jumped up and hugged her. Charles smiled proudly. Olivia watched quietly from the kitchen. "I wish I could go too," she said softly. Her mother turned to her. "Did you say something?" "I wish I could go," Olivia repeated, a little louder. Silence fell. "But Olivia," her father said gently, "someone needs to take care of the company." Her mother nodded. "It's renewal season. Your father can't do it without you." Lindsay shrugged. "And there are only 3 tickets anyway. Sorry." Olivia smiled faintly. "It's fine. Have a great time." That evening, as her family excitedly talked about their trip over dinner, Olivia sat in silence. Her head throbbed and her throat burned. She'd caught a cold but didn't want to ruin the mood. She quietly took some painkillers and went to bed early. The next morning, her fever had worsened. Still, she dragged herself to work and finished the documents. By evening, she was so dizzy she could barely walk. When she returned home, her family was still busy packing. "Olivia, what do you think of this outfit?" Lindsay asked, holding up a dress. Olivia could barely see through the pain in her head, but she smiled. "It's beautiful." "Great. Also, please handle these documents. I need them sent to a client from Paris," Lindsay said, handing her more papers. Olivia nodded, swaying slightly. "What's wrong?" Helen asked. "Just a cold," Olivia murmured. "Oh, have some tea, you'll feel better," Helen said, and turned back to packing. Olivia quietly went to her room. Her fever was rising, and chills ran through her body. She knew something was wrong but didn't want to worry them. Her breathing grew heavier, her chest ached. Still, she completed the paperwork for the business and checked everything for Lindsay. Nobody noticed how sick she really was, or maybe they didn't want to. Watching her family laughing and planning their trip, Olivia realized just how invisible she had become. The morning of the flight, Olivia could barely get out of bed. Her entire body ached, her chest was tight, and every breath was painful. She held onto the wall and made her way downstairs. She heard suitcase wheels rolling and her family's excited voices. "Mom," she whispered as she reached the living room. Helen turned around, suitcase in hand. "Oh, you're up. You don't look well." "Please, take me to the hospital," Olivia said, barely able to stand. Sweat ran down her face. Lindsay appeared, already masked. "Ugh, is it the flu? Don't give it to me. My fever, can't breathe." Charles stepped in from the front door. "Taxi's here, we need to go." He looked at Olivia, confused. "Are you okay?" "Dad, hospital." She reached for him, but the taxi horn blared outside. "Charles, we're going to miss the flight," Helen called out, her eyes flicking to Olivia. "We're about to leave for France. Deal with it yourself," she added coldly. Olivia dropped to her knees. Lindsay sighed. "Don't ruin our trip." "Bye," she said, dragging her suitcase to the door. Charles hesitated. "There's medicine on top of the fridge. I'll take you to the doctor when we get back." Then he left too. The front door shut. Olivia lay on the floor, trembling and burning with fever. The house was silent again. "Help me," she whispered. Her phone sat on the table, just out of reach. Every attempt to move sent sharp pain through her chest. Breathing felt impossible. She curled up, her body shaking. "Jessica," she whispered, her best friend. They were supposed to meet this weekend. If only she would come. As her eyes closed, Olivia thought of all the times she'd been there for her family, the nights she stayed up helping her father, the birthday surprises she planned for her mother, the days she nursed Lindsay. Why? And then, everything went dark. The only sound left in the room was the cold tick of the clock. Outside, the shadows grew longer as time moved on without her. "I tried calling Helen several times, but she never answered. That woman, how could she leave her daughter in this condition?" Elizabeth's voice trembled with a mix of anger and sadness. She had seen Jessica's social media post too. "Helen didn't have it easy growing up," Elizabeth said, sitting down beside Olivia's hospital bed and speaking softly. "We were struggling back then. I worked 2 jobs and couldn't give her the love and attention she needed. She was often alone." Regret filled her eyes. "But that doesn't excuse how she treats you. If anything, knowing what loneliness feels like should have made her more protective of you." Elizabeth sighed deeply. Olivia listened quietly, trying to understand the reason behind her mother's coldness. Still, what Helen had done now, abandoning her, was too cruel to forgive easily. The hospital TV was playing softly. A local news report came on. Breaking news: the president of Break Insurance and his family left for Paris while their daughter was hospitalized with a serious illness. The story, which went viral after a social media post, has sparked outrage. Olivia's eyes widened. She hadn't realized the story had blown up this much. "We've received reports that several clients have canceled their contracts with Break Insurance," the reporter added. Elizabeth turned off the TV with the remote. "Don't worry about any of that. Right now, your recovery matters most." Olivia nodded, though her chest ached. Even after being abandoned, part of her still cared about her family. Jessica's post continued to spread, gaining national attention. People across the country were talking about what family really means, turning the Break family into an example of what not to do. Meanwhile in Paris, Lindsay's phone buzzed non-stop. At first, she thought it was friends, but soon, she realized it was hundreds of angry messages from strangers. "Mom, something's wrong," she whispered, showing Helen her phone with shaking hands. They were at a cafe after a fashion show. Helen's face went pale as she read the messages. Charles looked over, alarmed. "She's in the hospital," he said, voice shaking. He pulled out his phone to call the office. The voicemail was full of angry complaints from clients. "We have to go back now," Charles said. Helen and Lindsay nodded silently, fear and guilt written all over their faces. They canceled their trip and booked the next flight home, paying extra for the urgency. Back at the hospital, Olivia's condition was slowly improving. Elizabeth stayed by her side day and night, and Jessica visited often. For the first time in a long time, Olivia felt truly loved and cared for. "You're an amazing person, Olivia," Elizabeth said softly while knitting. "Your kindness, your strength, they were never properly appreciated. But things will change. It's time to live your life for you." Tears welled up in Olivia's eyes. After years of being overlooked, her grandmother's words felt like healing. Suddenly, hurried footsteps echoed in the hallway. Charles, Helen, and Lindsay appeared at the nurse's station, all looking exhausted and shaken. Helen's hair was messy, and her makeup had faded. "We're here for Olivia Break," Charles said, his usual confidence gone. The nurse glanced at them and hesitated. "Room 304. She has visitors right now." They rushed to the room. Charles knocked, then slowly opened the door. Elizabeth sat by Olivia's bed, holding her hand. Her eyes turned icy as the 3 entered. "So, you finally show up," she said coldly. Olivia opened her eyes and looked at them with no emotion. "We came back as soon as we found out," Helen said quickly. Elizabeth stood and faced her daughter. "She's been in here for 4 days. You never should have left." Her voice shook with quiet fury. Charles bowed his head and stepped forward. "Don't come any closer," Elizabeth warned, raising her hand. "Do you even understand what you've done?" Silence filled the room. Lindsay looked like she was about to cry. "Mother-in-law," Charles began, but Elizabeth cut him off. "Olivia almost died of pneumonia. If Jessica hadn't checked in on her, you would have returned from Paris to find her gone." Helen sank into a chair, pale. Lindsay leaned against the wall, sobbing. Charles stood still, staring at Olivia. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. Olivia said nothing, just looked at the ceiling. "Our company," Charles's voice broke. "We've lost a lot of clients. People are canceling left and right. I always said the company couldn't run without me, but now, there might not be a company at all." Helen added in a small voice, "Lindsay's fashion contracts are gone. Her followers are disappearing. It's all backlash." Lindsay cried harder, hiding her face in her hands. "You brought this on yourselves," Elizabeth said firmly. "You never saw what Olivia did for this family." She looked back at Olivia with love. "Remember when Lindsay had pneumonia at 13? Helen and Charles exchanged glances. Olivia was 16. She stayed up for a week caring for Lindsay, without sleep, while still in school. The room went quiet. Her teacher called about her being absent. When I got home, Olivia was nursing Lindsay by herself, giving her water, using cold towels, whispering to her through her fever." Lindsay looked shocked. "I didn't know," she said softly. "Of course not, you were little, but your parents, why did they put all that responsibility on Olivia?" Elizabeth's sharp eyes landed on Helen and Charles. "And now you did it again, left her with pneumonia, abandoned her, a second time." Lindsay stepped closer to the bed and gently took Olivia's hand. "I'm sorry," she cried. "I'm really sorry. I didn't see it before. I didn't know how much you did." Olivia looked at her sister, sadness in her eyes. "I just wanted to be treated like I mattered," Olivia said hoarsely. "I wasn't asking to be special, just respected." Lindsay pressed Olivia's hand to her forehead and sobbed. "I didn't understand. I see it now." Charles knelt on the other side of the bed. "I've failed as a father. I took you for granted. I won't ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve it." Tears ran down his face, the first time Olivia had ever seen him break. Helen stepped up beside them, her voice quiet. "I think I was jealous of you," she admitted. "People liked you, they counted on you, you had what I didn't, and I resented it, so I was cruel sometimes." Olivia blinked, stunned. Helen had never spoken this honestly before. "But leaving you, that was unforgivable. As a mother and as a person, I failed you." Helen's voice cracked as she wept. Lindsay wrapped an arm around her, and the three of them stayed close by Olivia's side. From across the room, Elizabeth watched, her hard expression softening slightly. For the first time, she saw a glimmer of change. "Olivia," she said gently, "whether you forgive them is your choice, but forgiveness means accepting the past, not erasing it." Olivia nodded slowly. There was still pain in her heart, but seeing her family's remorse, she felt a tiny spark of hope. To be continued.